Good evening, everyone. It is Wednesday, May 14th at 7:04 p.m. And we will open today's session with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Counselor at Large and First Vice President Naomi Carney. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Note, this meeting is being live streamed and recorded. City Council and committee meetings can be viewed on the City of New Bedford's homepage under Quick Links, then Meetings. I'll ask the clerk if there's anything to read into the record.
There is not, Mr. President.
I am joined in the council chamber by my colleagues in government, Councilor at Large Ian Abreu, Ward 2 Councilor Maria Giesta, Ward 1 Councilor Leo Choquette, Ward 5 Councilor Joseph Lopes, Councilor at Large Brian Gomes, Ward 6 Councilor Ryan Pereira, Councilor at Large and Second Vice President Linda Morad, Councilor at Large and First Vice President Naomi Carney, and Ward 3 Councilor Sean Oliver. And I am your Council President, Shane Burgo. I'll ask the clerk to read the first item.
Mr. President, item 1 is a communication from Council President Burgo to City Clerk Farias requesting that a special City Council meeting is called for Wednesday, May 14th, 2025 at 7 p.m. for the submittal of the FY26 City of New Bedford budget.
Motion to receive and place on file would be appropriate. Made by Councilor Gomes, seconded by Councilor Abreu. Anyone on the question? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. At this time, we're going to take a brief recess, and I will ask Councilors Pereira and Morad to escort the mayor down. We are back. Okay, great.
Mr. President, honorable members of the City Council, I present the Mayor of the City of New Bedford, the Honorable Jon Mitchell.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. Council President Burgo, members of the City Council, and residents of New Bedford, I am pleased to submit tonight for your consideration the fiscal year 2026 proposed budget for the City of New Bedford. A spending plan that sustains services at levels our residents expect and deserve and avoids unduly burdening taxpayers. This budget proposal is being submitted amidst a relatively stable local economy. The city's unemployment rate today hovers around 5%, which is a far cry from the double-digit rates that we experienced 12 years ago. Housing units are being added across the city. Our manufacturers are having strong years. The Zeiterion, the Whaling Museum, and other cultural institutions are undergoing major expansions right now. The port remains busy, of course, and various maritime businesses are growing. Vineyard Wind continues to build out its first of its kind project, helping to fill our hotels and support our local restaurants. Meanwhile, major infrastructure projects are progressing, setting us up for still more growth in the long run, even more significantly. These include the reconstruction of the 195 Viaduct, a $300 million project, the airport tower and terminal, the New Bedford Fairhaven Bridge, and street and underground utilities all across the city, tens of millions of dollars worth. Hundreds of millions of dollars of both public and private sources are being invested in the Port of New Bedford, have been and will continue to be, where in recent years we've added over 70 acres of new waterfront industrial space. It also includes the recent resumption of intercity rail service between New Bedford and Boston, something that we have long fought for. And despite ample reason for optimism, there's plenty of it for the city's general economic trajectory. Almost paradoxically, our municipal budget has become, in recent years, increasingly difficult to manage. There is the uncertainty over whether the federal government will continue to provide funding for a raft of activities that matter to us. They run the gamut from housing development to early childhood education to offshore wind expansion. Although I suspect that we'll have some more visibility into the federal government's intentions in the coming months, the current uncertainty is reason enough for municipalities all across America to budget conservatively. But our budget has been tight for a while. Year after year, we have implemented an array of austerity measures, refraining from hiring the number of employees necessary to maintain the level of service that our residents expect, and foregoing new initiatives. Although a decade of modernization and management reform has made city government more efficient, the fact is that our financial capacity to deliver basic services has been slowly eroding. It is especially evident to those who are actually delivering those services, our talented and hardworking city employees who find themselves being asked to do more with less. They are the ones who are expected to do the work of more than one person when the city either eliminates or refrains from filling the position to their left or to their right. The fact that our pay for certain positions remains uncompetitive only exacerbates this problem. The reality is they can only ask so much of people, and at our current trajectory, important work inevitably will be left undone. Our fiscal challenges stem in part from limitations on our ability to expand the city's tax base. For starters, it is constrained by the dearth of developable land in the city. In New England, most municipalities are geographically small, and annexation is a thing of the past. Whereas other cities in other parts of the country can reduce tax bills by spreading the cost of government onto new taxpayers on previously undeveloped land, that's just not in the cards for us. What we can do, and are doing, is to aggressively pursue opportunities to expand on the limited amount of land that can be redeveloped. We are moving forward with the development of portions of the municipal golf course, of course, and there will be more news on that in the coming weeks. And we will soon have before the council zoning reforms that will allow for redevelopment of what had been unbuildable lots, and we will otherwise continue our very effective promotion of the development of vacant properties. Then there's the problem of state aid. Although state education aid has grown in recent years, our school department's finances are stronger than they've been in a long time. The story is profoundly different with respect to general municipal aid. Deficiencies in the state's non-school local aid program are having an ever-growing impact on the city's finances, and in turn on local taxpayers. The problem originated with the 2008 financial crisis, which prompted the state to impose significant local aid cuts and merge two existing local aid programs into something everybody now calls unrestricted general government aid, UGA for short. But once the financial crisis passed, the state didn't restore the earlier funding level. Instead, it increased aid each year from the lowest point in 2012, and at a rate that was less than inflation. The net effect is depicted on this chart, which you have previously seen. And you know the punchline. New Bedford, in the current fiscal year, in FY25, New Bedford is receiving less local aid than it did in 2008. You can see it right here. Just a little bit less. But think about that. That's 17 years have passed, and we're still not up to the 2008 levels in state aid. And then when you adjust for inflation, as it is depicted in that red line, the shortfall becomes even more stark. Had the state kept up its local aid commitment, in other words, had it returned to that 2008 level and increased the year-over-year increase by at least the rate of inflation, we'd have approximately $14 million more at our disposal. And that's the difference between the top of the last blue bar and the last point on the red line. $14 million more this year. So just think about all the things that the city could do with another $14 million in the current year. And just think about how much less the city would have to ask of taxpayers if that were the case. And that's who's footed the bill, after all, for this state aid shortfall. All of this, all of it cumulatively, the difference between the red line and all the bar graphs, it cumulatively adds up to $187 million over that period of time. I, for one, believe the state should be in the business of revenue sharing, and it has not been committed to it in a long, long time, and we are feeling it. And so how does this continue to happen? Well, I mean, the reality is the state doesn't have to answer for a higher local property tax bill. However unfair this is for local elected officials like us, it's the local officials who are the ones to provide the answers when the taxpayers call, and we're the ones who receive the blame, of course, for these decisions made not by us, but by the state. I will continue to advocate that the state must do more. And some members of the council have already done that as well, too, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful also for the efforts of Representative Cabral, along with some of his House colleagues, who've stepped up to try to establish a formula for unrestricted state aid and to elevate funding levels. But it is unrealistic to think that anything significant is going to happen soon. The shortfall in state aid will continue to put pressure on local governments, particularly this local government, and property taxpayers for the foreseeable future. Inadequate state aid would be easier to deal with if we had broad control over the cost of government. But as we've discussed before, alas, we do not. As the council well knows, the city's ability to control costs is greatly constrained, wait for it, by state law. The largest item in the general fund, of course, is the school department, which now comprises approximately 2/3 of the budget. For purposes of our budget discussion, the most important thing for the public to remember is that the amount, we should go to the next one, Janet. Yeah, so this chart every year has anchored our discussion, but as you can see, the biggest slice or set of slices has grown year over year. And the most important thing for everybody to remember, for the public to remember, is that big slice of education aid represents the minimum under state law we can fund the school district. That is the foundation level is set by a state formula, and that's we get aid for that, of course, through Chapter 70, and then we match it with a certain amount from the general fund, and that's what we get. You cannot reduce that portion. So for those who are watching out there, you keep in mind what MC Hammer said years ago, some 30 years ago. Can't touch this. Hands off. Let's see if everybody's dating themselves, the ones who are laughing. So the same is true for other items in the budget. The assessments from the county and from Voc Tech are not in the city's control. They send us the bill, we pay the bill. Debt service, of course, must be paid. And we can control the amount we borrow, of course, but we don't. But we do need to borrow for things that we have to fix, like roads and municipal buildings, everything. And for a city of its size, New Bedford carries a modest amount of debt. Pension costs are another major budget item contributing to the burden on taxpayers. And we've been through this before, and it's only getting more difficult. State law dictates that the city must make yearly payments to the retirement system sufficient to eventually eliminate the system's unfunded liability. In our case, that's the year 2035. So we'll go to the next graph, which depicts, actually one more, that one, pensions. So here we are. This is what we're paying. These escalated payments. The red depicts the past retirees, or past employees, I should say, and their retirement, our retirement obligations to them. But by 10 years from now, we're going to be paying $71 million just in that 1 year. It's an astonishing amount of money, but this is what we have to do, again, as dictated by state law, which says that you have to have it fully funded. In other words, all the catch-up payments have to be made by the year 2035. Our system right now is 54.5% funded. Last year, I told you this was the 5th lowest in the state. This year, I'm telling you that is the 4th lowest in the state. We're not going in the right direction. We're near the very bottom of that list because previous administrations, previous city councils, and previous retirement boards were unrealistic about the affordability of pension benefit increases. And now we're paying for it. As you know, employee health insurance also is a substantial driver of cost increases in the city budget. And as such, it is a major contributor to the property tax burden on New Bedford residents. In FY26, health insurance costs are forecast to rise to $50.4 million, or 10.1% of the general fund budget. If we go back to the pie chart, you'll see, the other way. So some of it is depicted on the city side. You remember about 3 or 4 years ago, we shifted the school department's healthcare costs onto the school department budget. So not all of it's depicted in this graph. So some of it is in the non-discretionary slice right there, and some of it is in education. Most of it's in education. But they all together, both the school and the city side, healthcare costs will add up to $50.4 million, or 10% of the whole budget. And ongoing inflation pressures all but ensure that this item will continue to grow in the foreseeable future. People have been talking about rising healthcare costs. It's not news. At present, the city cannot make any changes to healthcare benefits without the agreement of the employee unions who receive these benefits. Employee unions wield an effective veto power over any proposal to change the healthcare benefits, enabling them to fully utilize what is a lopsided advantage at the negotiating table. They decide what the benefits are. Addressing the resulting rise in healthcare costs simply by cutting the healthcare line item, as happened last year, just doesn't work. The city is self-insured, such that we are legally required to pay all the eligible medical claims, regardless of how much we actually budget for it. So if we budgeted healthcare at $40 million and the $50 million of claims come in, we still have to pay $50 million. Taxpayers bear the rising costs of employee health care, and they do so at a time when real household incomes in the city have come under intense pressure. And it doesn't have to be this way. As you know, sections 21 to 23 of the Municipal Health Care Reform Act afford municipalities the opportunity to control these costs without compromising the quality of health care benefits to their employees. Virtually every city and town in our region have at some point adopted it, along with a majority of municipalities across the state. And as you can see there, it includes, this chart includes everybody except New Bedford and Westport. And includes, so just so you can't see it from, I can barely see it from here, you guys can't see it, but it includes Dartmouth, Fall River, Freetown, Acushnet, and Fairhaven. The reason they did it, of course, is that they've realized measurable cost savings anticipated and did realize appreciable cost savings over time while still meeting the obligation to provide their employees the coverage they deserve. Section 21 to 23, in essence, just levels the playing field. It doesn't deprive people, employees, of benefits. It levels the playing field between the unions and taxpayers when healthcare design plans are being considered. When the parties don't agree, an independent arbitrator decides whether the benefit levels are reasonable compared to similar plans in Massachusetts. I believe that our employees deserve reliable health care. We've made that commitment to them. We should honor it. I know you agree with that too. But as the slogan for the Liberty Mutual Insurance commercials go, which we hear ad nauseum, we should only pay for what we need. Without placing taxpayers on a level playing field, the city can expect more of the same. Occasional tactical compromises from the unions that really yield no significant savings to taxpayers. So it's with these concerns in mind that I encourage the council to take this up again. I realize we're having, in many ways, the same conversation. It is not lost on me. A number of you have reminded me of that. But for the reasons I've just discussed, the need to act on this has intensified. We don't have a whole lot of levers to pull in our effort to control major expenditures, but this is clearly one of them. And it's there, and most municipalities in the state have availed themselves of it. My suggestion to you, for what it's worth, is that you consider the experience of the cities and towns that have adopted it. Ask yourselves, have the dire predictions about the loss of employee benefits actually come to fruition in these places? Have any of them here reconsidered their decisions to adopt the law and unadopt the law? Do New Bedford taxpayers have less of a financial need than these places to adopt the law? I think all of these, the fact that it's been adopted in all these other places really begs those questions and more. The reality is that in the long run, we have to come to terms with these major budget drivers, the ones that I just went through, or we stand to undermine our ability to deliver the municipal services that our residents expect at tax rates they can afford. In the absence of action, we will be left where we have been in years past with a discussion only of that 24% of the budget that pays for those activities we most closely associate with the operation of city government: public safety, libraries, parks, street maintenance, etc. It's a shrinking piece of the pie. If we could go back to the pie. It's a shrinking, we've seen this shrink graphically over the years. It's so slim now, the green and the blue slices, such that relatively modest cuts can debilitate important services. The kinds of cuts that would never show up, never be discernible on a tax bill, but would wipe out some city departments. The approach to cost cutting in recent years has its limitations. In the last few budget sessions, a certain amount of vacancy savings has been built into department budgets. We have proposed some, the council has increased the vacancy savings. The idea is based on the usually valid assumption that because some employees will leave their department in the course of the year, you don't need to fund the department for a full staff all year long. But you have to be careful with this approach, because if the number of vacancies does not meet forecasts, the department will end up in a deficit. That's what happened to the fire department. That's what's happening to the fire department in this year, and you've got the transfers concerning that. Smaller departments are unlikely ever to satisfy vacancy requirements. So for instance, if a two-person department like licensing were to meet a 5% vacancy requirement, its staffing would have to be reduced by half, in effect, one person out of two, for some portion of the year, which again is not realistic. Other cuts in recent years have run up against legal obstacles. You can't eliminate funding for bills that we are legally required to pay. In recent years, the council has cut funding to pay for electrical bills, employer Social Security payments, and the trash contract. And we don't have choices with respect to any of those and other legal obligations. If we don't fund these legal obligations, we'll be on the other end of lawsuits or enforcement actions that we will inevitably lose, and we can kiss goodbye the bond rating we've worked hard to secure over many years. There aren't easy solutions here. This is not, I don't pretend that any of this is easy at all, either financially or politically or otherwise. And that's why we've taken a highly conservative approach to this year's budget. Overall, just by way of summary, the total proposed budget is $561 million, of which the general fund is $500.4 million. The difference between last year's general fund expenditures and this year's is based almost entirely on increases in legally mandated school funding, pension, and healthcare costs. And the next, surprise, of course, in the next few weeks, of course, you will have an opportunity to delve into the various department budgets. Department heads have painstakingly proposed only that which is necessary to provide our residents the service levels they expect. These include, and they include positions, new positions that will generate new revenue for the city, such as EMT positions. More ambulances out there, more revenue for the city, net. Or positions that save money, for instance, by hiring an in-house plumber to reduce our reliance on much more expensive outside services. All in all, however, I emphasize, this proposed general fund budget will have 2 fewer net employees than the current year, which continues the trend of reducing the overall number of employees supported by the general fund. If we could just go to that last slide, Janet. I forgot to put up. So that's the trajectory. In 2008, 1,069 FTEs. In the current year, 985, and in the proposed budget, 983, 2 fewer. Don't get me wrong. We need more employees. There is a need for more employees in most departments. No, actually, in every department. Everybody could use more to get the job done. We just can't afford it right now. The proposed budgets for the enterprise funds, I will note, are based on revenue estimates that incorporate proposed rates that have been previously discussed with the council. The budget for the wastewater fund in particular reflects the city's planned execution of federally mandated sewer separation projects. Not news to anybody. These are things that we have to do under the administrative order by the Environmental Protection Agency. I want to thank our CFO, Bob Ekstrom, and his finance team, again, for their hard work in putting this budget together, all the scrambling, all the late nights, and there have been many of them. It's not been easy, but they've pulled it off very impressively. The preparation of any budget proposal is always a complex undertaking, and the current proposal has presented its fair share of challenges. But we will meet these challenges by relying on the same cautious, deliberate approach and the effective partnership between the administration and the city council that has served us well in the past. Toward that end, I invite your questions. We are my administration, every department head, everybody invites your questions. There aren't easy answers, but with clarity, we can make better decisions for everybody. What I've tried to do tonight is to speak directly to the city's residents and help to answer for them how we're spending their hard-earned tax dollars. We're all blessed to live in a city whose residents are eminently reasonable. I have confidence that they recognize we're working hard to get it right in the short run, and we're laying the foundation for a stronger future. Thank you for listening.
Without objection, I'll now ask the clerk to read items 2 through 9 all together at once.
Mr. President, item 2 is an order appropriating $460,838,400 from ordinary revenue and municipal receipts of the fiscal year beginning July 1st of 2025 and ending June 30th of 2026 for the payment of current expenses of various municipal departments. Item 3 is an order appropriating $1,374,461 in 12 equal monthly increments from airport receipts of FY26 in the airport budget. Item 4, Mr. President, is an order appropriating $129,600 from the hotel and lodging tax in the Arts, Culture, and Tourism Fund in 12 equal monthly increments from FY26 municipal receipts. Item 5 is an order appropriating $1,488,882 in 12 equal monthly increments from Enterprise Fund receipts of FY26 in the Cable Access Enterprise Fund. Item 6 is an order appropriating $66,500 now standing to the credit of the amount of the CCDA traffic handicap parking as follows: $64,000 to Commission for Citizens with Disabilities, purchase of services, and $2,500 to the Commission for Citizens with Disabilities and supplies. Item 7 is an order appropriating $1,113,112 in 12 equal monthly increments from the enterprise fund receipts of FY26 in the downtown parking account. Item 8 is an order appropriating $35,596,711 in 12 equal monthly increments from wastewater receipts of FY26 in the DPI wastewater budget. And item 9, Mr. President, is an order appropriating $20,904,506 in 12 equal monthly increments from water receipts of FY26 in the DPI water budget.
Motion to refer all the items to the quasi-committee of the whole.
Motion made by Councilor Pereira to refer items 2 through 9 to the quasi-committee of the whole, seconded by Councilor Abreu. Anyone on the question? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Seeing no further business.
Mr. President,
The chair recognizes
if I
Councilor.
may inquire, could you tell us why we don't have budget books this evening? Usually we have budget books.
They usually, as soon as the meeting adjourns, they usually come out with it.
Okay,
Because-
my past experience, we had them on the desk already. Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah, it looks like they're coming right now. Wonderful. A motion to adjourn would be appropriate at this time. Made by Council Oliver, seconded by Councilor Abreu. Anyone on the question of adjournment? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. We are adjourned at 7:41 p.m.